even supply chain, in financial management. In all these courses, people teach forecasting, including in operations research. Today, my arguments will be different. Like first of all, I will talk about how we need to prepare student to, you know, respond to the challenges that they have been encountering. They have been operating in such kind of situation. This is number one question that we need to address. Number two is that what are the recent development that has been taking place, especially in context of forecasting, and how forecasting as a science has developed to the next level that we have to understand. So today, what I would like to do, my perspective will be very different. I'll show you that exactly what I do, what I teach, and then I will also share one of the recent work which is based on machine learning. And you will also understand that how machine learning these days are increasingly used by the scholars and the practitioners to predict the outcome, which is purely highly uncertain, because we have been dealing with the situations where you have historical, because all the time series analysis are based on longitudinal data. They're based on a historical data. But what about the pandemic, like which you have faced? Nobody could predict the outcome of the pandemic and its impact on the business and other perspective. Nobody, and that is the reason why nobody was prepared, including health services, including National Health Services, NHS of the UK, neither French medical system, neither UK and US. Forget about. We understand in India there are a lot of challenges. It's a country which is operating in a resource constrained environment since for last almost how many decades we cannot count. Because to my opinion, since I was born, we have been seeing that yes, we have been surviving, we have been managing, and in fact, many people criticize our country. But let me tell you one thing: if I compare our performance with respect to many other countries, that's not been bad actually. But unfortunately, yes, that is not the only excuse that we can give. But we need to improve our forecasting technique. So worldwide, actually, they failed to predict the outcome of the pandemic. The reason is that because, as I told you that it's very simple to predict the outcome of something, and that's why you people, when you have something, especially when you have got historical data, and you get a R square value of more than zero point 0.7, zero point 0.8, you feel very happy that yes, your model is very strong. I hope I'm using the technical terms and everybody's comfortable, because I assume that at this stage, people are very much familiar with the R square the coefficient of determination. You should be aware that, it's simple to explain that if suppose R square is zero point 0.8, that means the independent variables that we have taken or assumed in our study explain 80% of the total variance in the dependent variable. That means it further opened the, room for the debate that there are 20% of the variance is explained by some other factors which you have not taken or not assumed in your model. That's simple. So yesterday I discussed about factor analysis, and let me tell you, the factor analysis is one of the important ways, one of the good technique. Please mark my word, is one of the important technique which help you to identify the factors that could influence the demand of any product. Please mark my word, could influence the demand. For example, what are the factors that has led to the outcome of pandemic? See, pandemic has occurred due to the COVID-19 virus, and there are other strains. That's well understood. However, it's very important thing that we need to understand, and this is the responsibility of all seasoned statisticians, that we need to establish a cause and effect relationship, and causality determination is the most important aspect of any science, and that is called inferential statistics. People say regression is inferential statistics. No, regression is a descriptive tool. Please try to correct actually. Unfortunately, people actually always tell that regression analysis is a inferential tool. No, structural equation modeling is an inferential tool or something beyond that. Regression is a purely description actually, and this is the fundamental mistake people does actually. So regression is not an inferential tool. Remember one thing. It's one of the extension of description. Of course, in descriptive statistics, you get the value of standard deviation, mean, mode, median, correlation value, all these things you get. But again, regression, simple regression analysis is also considered as a descriptive statistics. It's not a inferential. It doesn't help to establish the causality. Remember one thing. So when we are not able to determine the causality of the model, that means that our knowledge is incomplete, and we need to dive deep into the science and to understand exactly which are the factors that could influence the outcome variable. This is something which is a very open-ended debate. And in reality, in school curriculum, what we teach is that we only teach how to use a particular tool. For example, you must have read about moving average, weighted moving average, exponential smoothing, regression, all these methods which you have studied. All these methods are based on assumption that data is a longitudinal data. You have an historical information, you have a update, and you may incorporate some corrections like seasonality corrections and other corrections you can incorporate in the model that you have studied so far. And this is the only thing that we teach our students in our school at postgraduate level. And we expect the student to work in a complex environment, especially in an environment which is highly volatile, highly uncertain, highly complex, and highly ambiguous. And we expect the students with these kind of skills will fit into the complex environment. That's not possible. Because it's very easy to establish the relationship between demand of a product and the time. Demand as a function of time. It's very easy to express. And you have expressed as a linear expression, and you have found even sometimes fit into a curvilinear relationship. We assume that, okay, we can take the demand can be raised to some power, we can fit a curvilinear equation, and we can get a result. To a certain extent, we can do that. But my question is that if we are not aware of the independent variables, if we are not aware of the factors that is influencing the demand of the product or is influencing the outcome of any situation or event, how will you model? How will you develop your model? Till now, you have been dealing with deterministic situations. I'm talking about a highly stochastic environment. I'm talking about a highly uncertain environment where we don't know what are the causes that leads to an effect. So in order to determine the factor that influence the outcome of any variable, there are many ways to explore. And that's why we talk about exploratory research. So there are many approaches. And although we have been taught Delphi technique, like, so focus group interview through which we try to identify some of the factors. But we have never attempted to integrate this Delphi approach with the final model actually. And this is something. So I'm going to demonstrate two very interesting things. In one of the research paper, what we did, we have developed a mathematical model using the based on tweet analytics actually. So we developed a product actually for analysis operations research. My team and our student actually. So it's a consortium of British universities and French school. We did a very extensive work, and I'll show you that like today in current scenario, our prediction technique, our forecasting technique has moved to the next level. So I am taking an opportunity to show one of the research article and one of the working papers which we have taken to the next level, and especially the people coming from the financial background and operation background will enjoy, because this second work which I'm going to show you is a supply chain finance basically using machine learning. So you will enjoy this. So coming to point, and then I will show you some of the important case studies that how we used to analyze. Because the question is that this is a forum where we need to debate actually and need to understand. So I'm showing you one by one.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there's a request if you can discuss the teaching note also along with the case studies.
Teaching note I don't like to discuss, but yes, I can share later on. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not an issue, but I will. I'm just showing you the all the aspect. Okay, not an issue.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I will discuss. I will discuss. Don't worry. But generally, teachers should not go through the teaching note. Teaching note से तो even चाय वाला भी पढ़ा सकता है.
Sir, it will help in writing the cases for us as
Okay,
beginners.
please try to understand. I'm sorry, but I should not hurt you. Like, but my question is that teaching note, a faculty should never refer to teaching note actually,
Sir,
because
actually,
that
I,
limits the thinking process.
actually, I want to know how to write a teaching note
Okay, okay, okay.
for a
No, no,
beginner.
no, sorry. Actually, what happened? I really appreciate your point, but what I'm saying that I have seen that a case can be analyzed. I think those who have attended some serious case studies workshop, you must have read one thing that a case can be analyzed from multiple ways. Whenever you read a teaching note, actually teaching notes is a reflection of the particular author. But I'll tell you one thing, that particular case can be used from multi perspective actually. And that's why what happened, I've
Yeah.
seen that sometimes teaching note prevents your creative thinking ability. See, objective of teaching through case is not to find out one particular solution, because in business problem there is no one solution. Even in operations research we have been told that in operations research doesn't find a particular solution, it finds an optimal solution, which again depends how you define your constraints, and constraints keeps on changing basically. So even operations research team, particular people, those who are engaged in finding solution of a problem, your this business forecasting problem, if I teach next year, answer will be different. Why? Because parameters will change, conditions will change, variations will change, and that is why teaching note, of course, but I prefer it in my own teaching. Don't refer to the teaching note, because I have realized one thing. Because when I was trained in Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, my professor who taught me, actually Professor Sunil Chopra actually. So he taught me and he told me, Rameshwar, I also asked similar question. What about the teaching note? He said, why not you leave academics and join something else? You're not suitable for academics. And I mean it. We said, as an academician, if you cannot develop your own teaching note, that's very difficult. And you know what happened? Unfortunately, most of the country in India, we teach case study through teaching note. Ultimately, what happened that that the real purpose of the teaching case is lost basically. Because I'm telling you, ideally speaking, one case is analyzed from multiple perspectives. For example, there is a very interesting case, sport over Maya. This sport over Maya case is considered to be one of the best case for me, because it helps to address three important issues. Now, issue number one, it talks about judgmental forecasting technique. You have studied about forecasting technique, but there is a term called judgmental forecasting technique. What is judgmental forecasting technique? That says that based on the recent observations, you actually redesign your forecasting model. Number two, in that way they can reduce the forecast error. Number two, that particular article is also used for explaining postponement strategy, how you can delay the activity of a supply chain, and at what point. And that point is called point of differentiation. Third, this case also is being used from the international business perspective. So what I personally believe that teaching notes are available. You can get hell of a teaching note. But question is that teaching note should be developed by you. What I can guarantee you that I'm not like I cannot handhold everyone, because it's not feasible for me at this stage. But please don't get disheartened with my statement, because in academics we have to be brutal. But what we have to do is that we have to understand one thing, that teaching note, there's no one particular teaching note, to my opinion, can be for a one particular case. So I'll show you why I'm saying like that. In the end of the session, you'll find that what I mean actually. Okay, so
Sir,
what? Yeah.
actually, I'm writing a case, and I'm right now writing the teaching note of it. So
Okay,
I
okay.
just
Okay.
want
So
your
Divya,
input
what I'll
there.
do that I'll
Yeah.
share you some of the teaching notes actually of many.
Yeah, I just want some inputs. What all should I uh, see while developing a good teaching note? I
Okay.
just want your
Okay, Divya, thank you very much. So what we can
yeah.
do that we can discuss this thing in a different forum, because I'm like what I was what I understood, that this is not a case writing workshop. It's a teaching business forecasting using a case method as one of the
Okay.
case method of research. But Divya, I will surely address your concern actually. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm surely going to address you. But in this forum, actually, I believe that I need to discuss the thing. Please, sorry, I think I got disheartened because I as a teacher I want to be very perfectionist in this way. My objective. Please do not misunderstand me.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
really appreciate your concern, but I think this is not a case writing workshop. Actually, it's a basically a business forecasting. So my objective is to even teach business forecasting, which is not covered in your textbook actually. Because if I teach moving average, weighted moving average, exponential smoothing, my participants will say, for that this reason, why should I join this workshop? So I'm talking about the latest changes, challenges that has taken place, and I'm going to demonstrate some of our own research work, one which got published and one is going to be, and then I'm going to share you one interesting case, very interesting case, which you should use and teach in the classroom for business forecasting. Of course, we have got a lot of things to discuss. Okay, so sorry, if I'm starting my presentation. Am
So
I?
no issue. I'll contact you later on after the lecture.
No, you can actually. Sorry
Yeah,
for my.
if you if you are
Sorry,
comfortable
sorry, sorry,
with it.
sorry. Sorry. No, I understand. We have so many questions, but like yesterday, also, like many people had concerns regarding the theory. I said theory is a different forum actually.
Okay. I got your point, sir.
Okay, okay. Coming to the point, well, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I have misunderstood you, or I could not convey my message to you, because I'm in the now different world altogether. Okay. This is about developing a new product. And developing a new product itself a very complex task. Like as I told you that outcome is a product car. It's about a final product car, passenger car, and we're thinking like what factors could be included and what factors could be excluded, because we need to also understand that the manufacturing a car is a very complex process, because we need to keep in mind that we need to offer maximum uh, facilities in the car so that customer will have a better buying experience. That's the main objective. So how can customer have a better experience? How they can have a, so what are the attributes that need to be included and what attributes to be as well? Because if you increase the attributes, it will increase the cost of manufacturing. And remember that today we are competing in a very complex world, And especially this case is about a UK-based manufacturing company which is already competing with the world giants like German manufacturing companies and Japanese, and now even Chinese manufacturing companies are capturing the market worldwide. So in this complex environment, how to identify which are the attributes, which are the features that should be included in the final product in a way that it will improve the satisfaction level of the customer. At the same time, it will also enhance the quality of the product. So these are the something which we have to understand. Okay. So how can we do this? And we know that social media platform is quite a very interesting platform which will help you to understand that there are so many informations available through social media which can help you to filter out with that what you need and what you need, but then how to filter out a right component actually, and this is something which is very complex task. So, and this particular technique which I'm going to talk about is an artificial intelligence driven method, machine learning which we say. It's a tweet analytics. So, and I'll explain you that we have done the perform the code actually. I don't know how many of you have got a Python trained in Python. So what we say that what we have done actually, so we developed a code for Twitter. That's how we have developed a code for collection of the Twitter data. So we have actually developed a code for the Twitter data, and then with this help, these are the Python code for sentiment analysis, and these are the you know tweets. So based on that, and I'll show you that what are the tweets actually, which are we'll show you the data also because these are the it's a partial raw data from 2000 tweets that we have captured from the platform. So these are the tweets actually. So these are the tweets that we have captured, which have been used in our study actually. So based on this tweet analytics, after complex analysis, we finally get the outcome as so we get actually that so we have explained that what like how what is the how we have these are the research proportions we have come out like customer is interested and comments on general characteristics of the product throughout the new product development. So these are the some propositions we have developed, and then finally we have come out with this. Based on this, we have come out with the results like evaluation object plus emotional words. And when we combine this together, so we explain the polarity, and after that, we have reached to this stage. So we got like, for B1, like, indicator style appearance, what are the important components, for performance, what are the important components, for configuration, what are the components, for service, what are the important, and then and these are the keyword these are the word tweets based on which we have reached to the conclusion, and finally we have developed a fuzzy model. So this is how like it looks like a AHP. So this is not simple AHP, this is the machine learning based AHP, which is very interesting. So this is what we have finally done, and this is our final. So this final framework is the outcome of these interesting codes which you have developed. Okay, but since we write in a very simple manner, because we all academicians write papers so that students and the research scholars can understand in a way. So we have linked the Delphi with the fuzzy method, and then we have incorporated, and finally we got the result. So you can understand that this is another approach of machine learning technique which is used for predicting the final product of the car. So this is another top class business forecasting. Till now, what we teach in the school, we teach that what will be the demand of the a particular component. But I'm talking about in the real scenario that how would you solve, and this project was done by our all team, So this project was done by a French team, Warwick, Warwick, and Cambridge School. So this is one example. I'll share this paper with all of you. Please take an opportunity to understand that this is one of the interesting application, that how tweet analytics or social media, our inputs using complex machine learning technique can be used for demand forecasting. This is one application. Okay. So what I'm telling you that today our business forecasting curriculum, what we teach in microeconomics, but we should move beyond that. In first semester, we teach all moving average, weighted moving average. These should be covered in the first semester of master. But we should not continue with that method in the next semester, because we are not adding value to the students' skills actually. Because with those microeconomics method which we have been teaching for almost 3 decades, but in current scenario, are those techniques are applicable in real life? Tell me, how many people will you use exponential smoothing methods to forecast a particular product in current scenario, which is highly uncertain, highly volatile, and highly competitive and highly global actually. Okay, so we have to come out with a new skills. We need to build additional skills in the student. And what I suggest, professors, to develop the capability of the students based on machine learning, data analytics, big data predictive analytics. These are the techniques which are already existing, and we should be in building in the curriculum. So my request to all the faculty members who are present in the current seminar, please revise your curriculum and add some new dimension into your curriculum. Now I'm going to show you one working paper. So, but before I move to the second paper, I just want to have your question and answer, because that will make that will provide a clarity to this purpose. Okay. Okay. So yes, I want questions and answer questions from your end, so that you can ask question about this particular purpose, and you can ask me that how we have implemented. We teach our student all these things in our master degree. So I just want all of you people to know how these things have been done. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions?
Sir, specific to machine learning or generic you were asking?
Anything. Whatever you have a questions, please ask.
So far, no, nothing is specific, sir. Actually, it's indeed insightful. We are listening. So let the session develop. Maybe then our questions would arise.
Okay. Now we are going to show you another perspective actually, that it's a working project, and this is going to be the complex. Okay. So now I'm going to. Okay. So I'm going to share another project with you all. This project is about credit risk assessment. Many people are in financial field. They want to know, and this is, I'm linking credit risk assessment based on operational performance of machine learning approach. I'm trying to link with the supply chain and finance, and that's why what we have done, we have one of the co-author who is a vice president in Swiss bank, and he was a PhD from Italian top university. So since he's a practitioner, so we needed to have him, because we
Work in
all.
the laboratory. Yes. So yes. So basically, why
Can people mute their? Okay. I request people to please mute your voice. God, my momentum got disturbed. It's like a batsman who got disturbed by the screen. Okay, fine. So credit risk assessment based on operational performance or machine learning approach. Okay. So here we have been talking about, like, company have been using rating models, under value operations, supply chain performance indicator, and especially how. So we have performed, we use and compare the parametric and non-parametric machine learning architecture to build a model for credit risk assessment. And we have tested the data with more than 212 triple naught small and medium enterprise. That means uh, it's zero point 0.2 million approximately from the European based organizations. We have grounded this study in the signal theory. So we can see that what are the parameters we have taken, like operational efficiency, working capital, and cash to cash cycle, that effect that can predict the solvency of the small medium enterprises. Okay, and that non-parametric random forest and neural network models comparatively demonstrate higher predictive accuracy than the traditional parametric model. So how we have reached to this? And this is a very classical, high level, in a advanced forecasting technique. Generally, it is taught in the senior. So generally, these are not taught in the master's program, but of course, we are teaching now. Nowadays, we have started teaching masters, but it is basically a part of PhD coursework. Generally, I teach in PhD coursework. So I just don't want to discuss, introduction. You will certainly have this article very soon. It is already in the review process. So we have explained the credit risk, and we have explained all the terms that we have used actually. So financial behavioral model, qualitative, and then finally what we have done, we have classified into three models, as you can see that. So we have explained the parametric model, that what are the parametric tool, like regression analysis, generalized linear models, panel models, generalized additive models. Okay, decision trees and random forest are the, like non-parametric addition trees, random forest, and neural networks. Okay, so we have defined our model, and then followed by conceptual model we have developed. So this is a conceptual model which you can have a, I'll show you the conceptual model. So this is the descriptive analysis we have performed. So it's a statistic with a generalized linear model, generalized additive model with random and then multi-layer perception neural network. So we have explained the layers. So this is our model actually. So multi-layer perceptron structure, MPL. We have defined the correction period, credit period, and inventory turns. We created a weight matrix and led to that output. We have that cost, entropy, and accuracy. Okay. And this model which we have developed, finally, we got our outcome. And this is finally, we compared the models. We have compared all the models like this. As you can see, the generalized linear model, generalized additive model, multi-layer perceptron model, and random forest model. And then based on that, we have, and this is what the main thing is, that how we have done it. We have explained our methodology. So, this is how we have come out with all this. So this is this kind of like attempt. What I'm saying that today machine learning based approach is commonly used in a highly fragile environment. So what I'm suggesting you, that today business forecasting methods have moved to the next level. We cannot live in the legacy era. We need to move from the legacy era to the next level. And today, most of the techniques that we have used by the industry in a complex environment, they're all machine learning driven. So these are the two important, examples which I have demonstrated or shown you that how a machine learning driven business forecasting techniques are being used in real life scenario to improve the predictability and minimize the error. So this is what we are like. So this is one of two examples. I know there are many applications in many fields, but this is what we have done so far. This is what we've done so far. These are the two recent application. Of course, we are continuously working actually in this field to understand that, how we can, develop some even better technique. So even related to disaster related projects, we have a big disaster laboratory. So we are working in that context is like, how to predict the disasters, especially in earthquake prone regions. And we are trying to predict like what impact that is going to create on human lives and what advanced preparation needed to be done. So that's one aspect. But of course, it's not that easy. We are all trying to develop our better method model. Of course, machine learning and big data analytics related stuff that we are focusing here, which will enable us to respond to the challenges. So my perspective was that I just wanted to bring new dimension to the machine learning perspective in the business forecasting. Now, when it comes to case studies, actually, so there's a very interesting case actually, which is uh, I've chosen an Indian-based case, which is quite simple to teach a student. This is a very interesting case actually. I'll show you that one interesting case. So forecasting is a simple model. Okay, so this is a case of like Hind Oil Industries. It's manufacturing the mustard oil developed by Indian team. So it's a case about like predicting the edible. Talking about edible. So predicting the future demand of the mustard oil. And this case provides a extensive data. Actually, like here I've got a data here. So this is how they have got a data, like from
Sir,
April
the screen
2000.
is not visible.
Okay, it's not visible. It's okay. Visible now. Is visible now?
Not yet.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir, it's not visible.
Okay, 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 okay. Now I think I'm again. Uh, is it visible now? Can you see now? Sorry, can you see now?
No, sir. No. Yes, yes, now.
Okay. Google Talk actually takes some time. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, so in this is the Hind Oil Industries demand analysis. Okay, so this is the case developed by Indian team. It's about the predicting the demand of a mustard oil. So what is the characteristics? What is the use of this case analysis? This is very complex. Although you can solve using regression model, and you can get the R square value and can say that yes, this model is good. But this is not that the case. What is the purpose of this case? This case can be analyzed from various perspectives. First of all, you have to make understand that when you're teaching this particular case to the student, you have to first prepare them for the market. Like, for example, what are the factors on which the edible oil market depends? Okay, this is something which you have to understand. That means you have to understand that the price of the mustard oil has a significant effect on the consumption of the edible oil. That the moment when the price increases, the people will adjust the demand based on that, because price of the oil will have a significant effect on the consumption behavior of the people. So price of the edible oil is an important factor. Another important factor is that price of the competitors. So your price and the price of the competitors are equally important. So when you are doing this particular case analysis, you must explain the student, like, what are the external factors that may influence the demand of the, edible oil. So it's not only that, so historical data is important. Now, second most important thing is that seasonal factor, season and that particular period. What was see, mustard oil is basically a locally, the mustard oil market is dependent on local produced mustards, seed. So in that particular year, how was the mustard crop, or what was the yield of the mustard crop? This is something which you have to understand. So in that particular year, if the yield of the mustard seed was affected due to climate change, it will also affect the demand of the oil. So one hand, the crops, that is the, so you have to understand that this particular demand of the particular mustard oil depends on so many factors, so many factors. Now there are emotions also attached to this. Now emotion is something like that, that this is something which you have to understand. And you also while analyzing, we also have to understand one thing, that what are the other competitors of the mustard oil, because mustard oil competitors are not only mustard oil, but also the other oils like sunflower and other varieties. So if you don't get mustard oil, then people can switch their loyalty to other products. So what happened. So it is a complete, first when you build this particular case, when you're discussing this case, I expect student to use Michael Porter five forces model to understand the demand scenario. Then you need to also discuss the challenges that you face in procuring the seed. You need to explain this purchase portfolio matrix with the help of purchase portfolio matrix by Kraljic 1983. You have to explain the what are the challenges that mustard oil producer will face in procuring the mustard oil seed. After carrying out these two analysis, you present, you explain the demand of the seed, demand as a linear function of price of the mustard oil plus price of the other commodities and other factors. Now it may not be linear, it may not be linear. So if you feel that it is not linear, then you can actually express as a Cobb Douglas function, which you have studied, and you can express in that, and then you can perform and then take the logarithm of this both the sides, and then you can actually perform ordinary least square regression analysis, or you can also solve it using Logital probit model. So that's what I'm saying, that when I'm talking about teaching note, in teaching note, I cannot discuss all these factors, because teaching note generally what happened, they provided what I have done with this data. But my question is that is so simple. It's so simple to predict this particular demand of a mustard oil based on the historical data. No, it's not that simple, because the demand of the mustard oil or consumption behavior is affected by historical data. At the same time, it also influenced by the current scenario. So how would you incorporate current scenario in your model? And this is something which is to be debated here. So when I'm taking about this case, so ideally speaking, this case has to be discussed into 2 3 3 hour sessions. So I teach this case for 6 hours. First hour, I discuss the student to understand industry. And I explain them that you have to understand the entire supply chain of the mustard oil. What kind of supply chain does exist in current scenario? After that, then I also explained what are the other microeconomic factors influencing the demand of the mustard oil. And then I move to the student discussing that, how do you develop a model? Now you take one linear model and one you take non-linear model. In linear model, what are the factors that you will take into consideration? And in the non-linear model, what are the factors you're going to take into consideration? So based on all these factors, you come out with your model. Rather than simply performing a time series analysis, that you took the price per capita in rupees, and year wise, and you just find a regression model, that is not going to justify. By default, the R square value will be always high. But do you think that R square value or coefficient determination is so high in reality? This is something which we need to debate. So this is a very interesting case. And when I'm teaching this case can be used by microeconomics faculty, those who are teaching microeconomics. It should be used by the faculty who's teaching statistics. When they're teaching regression analysis, they also talk about nonlinear regression. Unfortunately, most of our statistics faculty, they limit their discussion only to regression analysis, and that is assuming linear relationship. In reality, it is not linear. So they should also, I request them to discuss about nonlinear regression. I also talk to the operations faculty when they are teaching demand analysis. Then they should discuss the entire supply chain of the product, and from that supply chain perspective, then talk about the microeconomics factor, and then you propose a Cobb-Douglas function, and based on that, you find out the then you solve it using logit or probit model. So for different different stream, different way of looking into the case. Ultimately, we expect people to synthesize. Ideally speaking, in top schools, generally what happen, economics professors, microeconomics professor, operations management professors, and so-called statisticians or finance professors, they come together and teach this case. This is an ideal scenario, but I know that due to limitations of resources, sometimes school cannot handle this thing. So then I advise a professor that before discussing this class, you sit and discuss with a microeconomics professor. Understand, because I know that everybody have studied microeconomics and macroeconomics in their school days, during their master's days. You have to again recapitulate what you've studied. So when you are teaching a complex business environment, it's not that easy that you can examine from one particular lens, that is okay from microeconomics perspective. No, from microeconomic perspective, only you see only the dimensions, but you don't understand what are the complexity involved in the entire supply chain. And this is something which we need to keep in mind while analyzing this particular case. So that's what I'm saying. This particular case can be analyzed from three perspectives, and then you can synthesize the findings and propose a better results. Now, this particular case also can be used from the machine learning perspective. What I'll do, I will try to understand the sentiment analysis regarding the consumption of your mustard oil. So you must have, you must have seen that, so based on the tweet, what is the reaction? So, you just analyze 6-month tweet of the, consumers, and based on that, you can understand that what are the factors that is currently, affecting the demand of the mustard oil. And based on that, you can actually come out with a neural network model, and you can also solve that particular problem also. So there are many ways, I'll tell you. So initially, I would suggest you can examine from microeconomics perspective. You can analyze from production and operation management perspective. And third, you can analyze from a simple statistics perspective. You can assume linear model, you can assume nonlinear model. It's all up to you. The more and the more complexity you'll add into the model, the more and more external factor that you'll consider while analyzing this particular case, your case will become more robust, and the students will be exposed to more realistic environment. It's not, we often blame that theory doesn't match with the practice. It is not true, because we academicians are not adapting to the current trend, and that's why what happened, we do not impart that kind of theoretical skills which will help them to face this kind of volatile, and they can to respond to such volatile, uncertain, and complex environment. So I just want to have a debate after this case analysis, and I want to have an opinion and perspective of yours, because this is something I am actually discussing from faculty perspective, and this is something which is important. So I have presented my own perspective, and I need to now know from your end. Let's have a debate. Let's have an open forum discussion. Okay? Yeah. Come on, everyone. How many of you have been teaching business forecasting in past?
So could you rephrase what you said just?
I said, how many of you have been teaching business forecasting in past or in current scenario?
Okay. Sir, in my case, I do restricted to international business context. So it would be a kind of a small module amongst the macro module. So not dedicatedly the subject, but yes, some part of it.
Okay, that's good. So after getting this, my perspective, what is your opinion now?
Yeah, I completely identify that building theoretical context is important, and my personal experience had been that it depends on the recipient group. So some people wouldn't understand what the research findings are. So we have to go with very practical examples or very simple. Uh, Simple day-to-day examples, and it also depends on what is the level of recipient group we are teaching. So theory building and the contextual input is definitely very essential. I completely identify.
That's good. Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It depends upon the academic background of the recipients or the students who are attending the session. But yes, no, it takes time and effort to build this kind of sessions. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Anybody else? Anybody else?
So there's one generic question in the chat box, like how to
Yeah.
incorporate the concept of supply chain analytics to decrease the cost of entire inventory system.
Okay. It's very simple, and it's not like very difficult actually, because when you talk about supply chain analytics, it's about like, first of all, there are many perspectives. Let me explain to you. Number one, when we talk about the use of technique like, big data predictive analytics or blockchain technology, why do we talk about big data predictive analytics? Let me start with the big data predictive analytics. How does it help? Actually, we know that in past several research work have been done that business forecasting success is critically revolves around three important pillars, and that we have to understand. In reality, the business forecasting is very complex, because as a data statisticians, we find that we have a data we can predict, but can we execute it? This is something. So collaborations among the key supply chain partners is an important parameter. When I talk about collaboration, we say that to what extent each members involved in the entire supply chain are willing to share the information, accurate information, and quality information. And this is well explained by a seminal work published in Journal of Operation Management, Ko and Chang in 2011. Okay. So collaboration is important perspective. Second perspective is developing trust among the key partners, because sometimes we have seen that most of the time the forecasting models do not succeed. Reason is that because there's a lack of mutual trust among the key members involved in the supply chain partners, and this has led to this problem. So trust building is most important perspective. So until unless you don't build a trust among them, it's very important. So trust is very important factor. And these things can be improved in the digital era through big data and predictive analytics. So big data and predictive analytics enable the transparency in the entire supply chain, which helps you to improve the visibility end to end. In that way, it helps you to match the demand and supply very accurately. So when you have end-to-end visibility, that means you are aware of your current inventory level, you are aware of the market demands, and accordingly what happened, you will plan your all stuff, because so that you do not end up in either managing huge inventory level, or you should not go for the stock out situation. So avoiding this can be through the proper visibility in the supply chain. So supply chain analytics help you to create visibility, creates end-to-end visibility in the supply chain. It improves collaboration and trust among the partners, and that helps to solve the complex problem. So this is something which I'll show you some of the examples, how the supply chain analytics have been done actually. So that will I'll explain you now. So similar to this, we have done one important research. Okay, so we have talked about, in case of automotive industry, facilitating artificial intelligence powered supply chain analytics through alliance management during the pandemic crisis in the B2B context. And finally, we have found a very interesting model, that how alliance management capability, that means collaborative effort among key partners in the supply chain network, will enable the artificial intelligence driven supply chain analytics, which will have a significant effect on the operational performance and financial performance, and how the environmental dynamism will moderate the effects. And this is what we have found through detailed analysis, and, and through complete detailed analysis. And we found that how our hypotheses are supported and which are not supported. So we got comprehensive results. So we have found that, whenever you are talking about supply chain analytics, supply chain analytics in alone cannot give you, cannot deliver a result if the level of cooperations and collaborations, that is alliance management capability, is not in place. And this is the model which we have done, especially in context to pandemic crisis, that how some of the automotive manufacturing companies have managed. I hope I'm able to address the queries. Of course, this is a complex model, and this.
It's
I'll also show you some of the examples which I teach my student, demand forecasting model. So what I use, both optimization technique and this thing, so everybody have a better understanding. So I'm just opening this sheet, and then you can have a better understanding. So, say this is a simple time period, okay? And the objective is so let's talk about, okay. So this is like moving average. You have everybody have taught this. Everybody teaches these things simple. Ultimate aim is to reduce the mean absolute percentage error. So this is a very simple problem which you can do that. Like you have a demand. This is what your forecasted demand. So suppose you have a 3-period moving average, or 5-period, or whatever may be. You've computed a forecast error. As you know, the forecast is my demand minus forecasted demand. Okay. Then you take the absolute forecast error, and then you calculate the mean absolute percent. I'm taking the case to the next level. Now you start with this, because this is how you start with a student, and I think everybody start. Now what happened? There is an interesting case, is like a weighted moving average. What I do that, like in microeconomics, generally you must have seen that professors assign the weightage actually. So how much weight should be assigned? So somebody says 0.5, 0.3, 0.2. My question is, why should I decide that? How can I decide that this much weight should be assigned? Please note my question. This is something which is very important. How should I assign? So I don't know. I don't know exactly how much weight I should. So in weighted moving average, you should need to assign different weights to the different period. Because in simple moving average, we assign equal weightage. But when you know that in some case, when maximum weight should be given to the recent time data, and as the as it becomes older, you assign less weight. So this is the objective of weighted moving average. Weighted moving average is basically used as a technique when you assume that all particular time have a different weightage. So what I do, I generally teach in a different way. Instead of like fixing my weight, what I do, I initially say, let I put it 0. So suppose I take like, let me take a 3-period weighted moving average. So what I do here, I assign weight actually. So let me assign weight alpha, beta, mu, and sum of the alpha, beta, mu should be equal to 1. So what I did, I have assigned this weightage to all these things. So I don't know exactly how much alpha value, how much beta value, how much mu value. So based on that, I forecasted the demand. So as usual, forecasted is nothing but demand minus forecasted value. So I got this, and I taken the absolute, because absolute is because I only want sign. I don't want negative and positive sign. So I took the absolute, and then I calculated mean absolute percentage error, because the mean absolute percentage error is that the absolute forecast error divided by the actual demand into 100, and that gives you. Okay, this is something which you got. Okay. Now I want to minimize the mean absolute percent. This is what is the objective. So what I do, after doing this exercise, I take it to the solver. I know that everybody will be aware of the solver tool. Solver is basically an operation research tool which help you to give an optimal result actually. So what I do here, I set my objective function like this, and then what I want, I'll just remove what I want. I'll just remove like this. So delete, delete, delete. Okay. So now what I want to make you understand that I have set my objective function, and what are my variable cells? These are my variable cells because I want to calculate the result, because these are my variable cells. So I have selected my variable cell. Now I need to explain the constraints now actually. So add my all these values, that all these variables should be less than equal to 1. This is number 1 point. Add, but all these variables should be greater equal to 0, because this we have to explain, otherwise it can find negative values for alpha, beta, and mu. Okay, then add this value should be equal to 1, because otherwise it can. So okay, so when I define my all constants, I need to find a solution, optimal solution. So what I'll do, instead of simplex algorithm, I take GRG nonlinear, because it contains some nonlinear expressions, and I can solve this. So it could not find solution. Why could not find a solution? Because I've not defined here. So what I have not defined, let me explain you what I have not defined. So again, I'm getting back. So here I have to explain that what is not explained, my objective function not explained. So what I'll do here, I'll close this, and then see that what is it explained. So I have to take the average of this. Okay, so I've taken average of this. So I'll take average. Okay, this value I need to take. So I need to take sum of the value. Okay, so I've explained this. Now what I'll do, again, I'll go to solver and see that my all these values are defined. If it is defined, okay, I've selected this. My variables have been selected from 18, 19, 20. Okay, fine. This is fine. Everything is okay. So now what we should do, we should solve. Okay, so now you can see it has found a solution. Because why? So you can see that how I can teach students. So instead of saying that in microeconomics, do you know that in the textbook it is given assign 0.5 weightage, 0.3 weightage, 0.2 weightage? Why? Why 0.5? Why 0.3? How can I say it's only 0.5 weightage should be assigned, only 0.3 weightage should be assigned? How I can say that? So let us teach this thing in a different way. I ask my student, let us determine the weightage and see for what weightage my mean absolute percentage error will be minimum. This is simple exercise actually. And then you see that students will learn to combine optimization tool function with a statistical application, and they will start enjoying the things. Tell me, how many of you have taught in this way actually? How many of you have taught this particular thing in this way? How many of you have taught this particular thing in this way?
I
Hello?
guess none, sir.
Okay. So now can find the interest that, like, you must have realized one thing, that in microeconomics you must have read assign this weightage. But why? Why this weight?
Right, sir.
So you can teach student actually that why not you determine your weightage based on a given situation, because according to the situation the weight will change. So how can you fix initially that this much weight should be assigned to the this particular year data, this particular month data? How? So instead of, like, fixing something, you can actually prepare the student to find out the result, and then they will learn, they will become more and more, they will enjoy these forecasting sessions more and more, because now they are able to combine optimization tool with your statistical tool. And this is why we are here to teach. We want to make the things more interesting and more, and this is what actually I personally believe, that I teach all these things in this way, so that they can actually. So this is what I taught is weighted moving average. Then moving to the next, in case of exponential smoothing, say, so in case of exponential smooth, sorry, regression method, uh, I'll show you this. Okay, now exponential smoothing alpha. So how should I determine my alpha value? This is something which is very important. How should I determine my alpha value? And I did same thing. Don't assume alpha value. Keep it alpha value as 0. And then what you see, that what I've done, see the formula. So in case of exponential smoothing, the first demand is chosen as a demand of the initial. So forecasted demand is as initial demand. Then for the next year, you apply the formula, and that is what, based on this equation, that is next forecasted demand ft minus, that is ft plus 1 is equal to, uh, that is a forecasted demand plus alpha into forecast error. And then you copy this formula. So you have put the formula, you can see the formula, and then you copy this formula to all, say, like this, and then you calculate the forecast error. Similarly, then you take the absolute forecast error, and as usual, like what you've calculated for mean absolute percentage error, like this, what you've calculated. So you have determined, okay. Now, similarly, what you do, that you go to the solver, and here your objective function is to reduce the minimum absolute percentage error. This is your, so you have to minimize what you're changing the variable cell, because this is your variable cell. So you have selected this, and for constraints, so you naturally, this value alpha always lies between 0 to 1. So you have defined the constraint, and then you solve it using, and then you see that it will yield a solution in a way. So it's taking some time, because I performed evolutionary actually. So evolutionary means it will take multiple steps. If I would have used non-linear, probably I would have got the result by this time. But evolutionary means it will perform all possible computations to see that what is it based on genetic algorithm. Evolutionary means genetic algorithm application. Now that's why it is performing several iteration. So I was showing you that it will give a similar result because it's a simple model. But evolutionary algorithm based option will take a lot of time because it performs series of computations, which is not in the case of nonlinear and linear, like, okay, so they're found. So what does it mean? That it has taken some time because it wanted to see that, because genetic algorithm is the foundation of artificial, and it was trying to see what best solution, and ultimately it has culminated to that if alpha is nearly equivalent to zero point 0.6, then in that case you get a low minimum absolute. So I've taught the same exponential smoothing section in a different way. That instead of like telling people to, assume this value of alpha, why not find the optimal solution for the alpha, for which the my mean absolute percentage error will be minimum. Am I right? Yes, tell me.
Right, sir.
So what I'm trying to say that this is one such important application. This I've shown you that. That's why I shown you the. I've shown you that uh, both the cases that I took a simple exercise which all of you have been teaching. Why not use solver tool with your current existing Excel, and then you can actually do it. Okay. Yeah. Is it possible? Now, is it possible for all of you to understand this? Like, how can you connect now both the things? So you can actually link both the things like solver tool with the Excel tool, and you can do it much better. Anybody have any questions now? Feel free to ask questions, because I believe more question you'll ask, I will be able to provide you better answer. Because see, this is a business forecasting scenario. We need to understand exactly what are the multiple ways that we can take and can analyze the situations. Case is what? Case is actually like a situation. So we take a situation, we discuss all the issues in the case, and then ask student to do. So generally I tell you that when students solve using Excel, you cannot fix, because you generally what happened in the textbook when we teach, we assume alpha value, we assume alpha beta value. But in reality, you need to find an optimal value of the alpha in your particular context, and based on that, you have to find out results. Anybody have any questions now?
So there's one question in the chat box, and how to build a trust or collaborative working approach among supply chain players, because supply chain players are always looking towards their own benefit rather than collaborative benefits. So,
this is what had been explained by Morgan and Hurd 1994, and it was like Cohen Sui has also written on this. And this particular characteristics is called opportunistic behavior. So how can you minimize the opportunistic behavior? So there are many study has been conducted, and in order to improve the opportunistic behavior, there's a very interesting article by Howley, 2004, which is now being adopted by most of the companies, called AAA supply chain. It's called agility, adaptability, and alignment. The word alignment has been used in this particular context, is that how to improve the collaboration among the supply chain partners, so that they can actually have a better collaboration, better support. I'll actually show you this article, and this article has already recommended this thing, so very very like triple A Howley 2004. It's a seminal work, and I will start presenting, because I think wait. Okay, so I'll show you that. So this is a very interesting work has been given, and already the company have been. It's not like that, ordinary work. This work has been implemented by most of the industry, and Indian forum like CII industry has been working on improving AAA, on implementing AAA. So you see that this article is about alignment. So how can you improve the alignment? That means establish incentives for the supply chain partners to improve the performance of the entire. So provide all partners with equal access to forecast, sales data, and plan. Clarify the partners' roles and responsibilities to avoid conflict. Redefine partnership terms to share risk, cost, and reward for improving supply chain performance. Align incentives so that players maximize overall supply chain performance while also maximizing their returns from the partnership. So these are the common aspects, And this is how the companies have come out with a rubric actually, which will guide them. And that's why you must have seen that they don't treat as, a supplier as a supplier or as a third party service provider. They now treat them as a supply chain partners. And when you treat them as a partner, that means now the data sharing is very important. So earlier, what happened? The focal firms never used to share the data with the partners because they never used to trust their partners whether the partners will actually misuse the data or they will actually try to maximize their own return. So there was a lack of trust basically, and in past there has been so many occasion opportunistic behavior within some partners have actually affected the collaborations or impacted the collaboration. But what happened when these protocols are well set by the companies and with regular monitoring, and now with the blockchain technology, the things have become even more and more better, because now nobody can actually manipulate the data flow or information in the entire supply chain. So that is why with the new technology, emerging technology like blockchain technology and big data predictive analytics, things have become even much better. And now we can see that yes, the all top performing companies are very, very serious when it comes to collaborations and defining their. So this is something which is very important. So this is well explained by Howley, seminal work. So one of the most top article published in Harvard Business Review, AAA Supply Chain by Howley. And since then, this article has attracted several attentions from across the globe. Okay, so anybody have any questions?
Sir, I have one question regarding sentiment analysis. Like, suppose if I apply sentiment analysis to analyze the user feedback, to evaluate the market performance of a product. So, how would I evaluate the accuracy and reliability of the results that I obtained using sentiment analysis?
Uh,
The results are
yes,
reliable. How can I?
yes. This is a very valid question. That how should I understand that the tweets which I'm using actually uh, can be trusted? Well, this is one of the gray areas which often actually haunt us. So what we do, that we need to define the polarity in the beginning. That's why you've seen that in our articles we have defined the polarity for each of the situation. I'm not saying that we have been able to eliminate these problems. These problems will remain. But what I suggest you that yes, this tweet analytics help you to understand, because what happened when you analyze this tweet actually, now see what is tweet. It's a tweet is a sentiment of the twitters,
Yes, yes.
those who now this sentiment is actually a very interesting thing, that suppose you're in a positive mood, your sentiment, your tweets will be different, and when you're not in a good mood, then your tweets are. So how to avoid those polarity, actually extreme polarity in their tweets actually? So what we do, that's why we have used fuzzy set theory. So through we finally, when we take the data, and then we through fuzzy theory actually, we try to define the polarity, and then we actually filter out some useful information to a large extent, and then we eliminate or delete some of. For example, do you know that when you're taking the feedback of the some people may not like you for any other reason.
Yeah.
So so if you have seen that when you're taking the feedback of any faculty, some student give 5 5 5 5, which is not possible, or 1 1 1 1, and you have to eliminate those polarities actually. So that's why again, technology is to be guided by you, and that's why we are developing artificial intelligence capability. But again, it has its own limitations. It cannot behave like a human being. So your interference, your role in monitoring the quality of the data information is very critical. So it's your role cannot be removed actually. Although we talk about artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence has not reached to that level which can actually think like a human being actually.
That should be manually.
Yeah, that you have to bring, your purpose.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. What's the time now?
It's 320, sir.
So, anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions now? So what I suggest that these are the one application as such. So one of the such applications. So this is what I suggest that now I will actually share some other case studies so that people have a better like this. Okay. Now there is another interesting case. This is an article. Wait, that I will. This is another case about cement manufacturing effort about a Tongyang cement company, and this is what they have done. So cement consumption, cement industry, as you know, it's very relevant in Indian context actually. So this case is about this. I will show you that one of my exercise, which actually I did in a real life scenario, and you will understand this case actually. So I would like to present a very interesting case of mine. During my working days, I developed. So I was actually business analyst for Wholesome Cement actually. Now Wholesome Cement, as you know, that in 2005 they took over Ambuja and ACC. So that time they were trying to integrate actually all these companies. So I was a part of the forecasting team. So I was a supply because the job with the ACC, and I was an operation research analyst for the entire ACC, Ambuja and Wholesome Group. I know what are the challenges I had to face because ACC people and Ambuja people were considering me as a threat, and they're not willing to share the data. And it was a very tough time to get the data from them, but we finally succeeded actually. But after that success, I developed my interest towards PhD and research, and then I decided let me go for my doctoral degree, and that's how I started my journey actually. Okay. So I would like to take an opportunity to present my real case as a which has a true implication on the business, and then you will actually understand that how what we've done. Okay. So this is the case about. It was a case about 2007 when in 2005 Holcim, which was the leading Swiss company, took over ACC in Ambuja. Now this Holcim has become Holcim Lafarge. Lafarge was at that time, it was the number one company in the world. It's a French company. Holcim was a Swiss company. And Heidelberg, which is a German company. So you remember they have acquired Madras Cement, and now you know that. So Holcim and Lafarge, they have now merged together. They have become now a comp. But that time, ACC and Ambuja, they used to operate as a different players. So when Holcim took over ACC and when acquired major stake in ACC and Ambuja, Holcim decided to integrate the value chain of these two very two important companies actually. So how to integrate? That means they wanted to retain them as an individual brand, let these two brands compete in the market. But when it talks about resource sharing and logistics facilities and manufacturing facility sharing, it should be common. And many people, whether they know or not, that Ambuja's ACC cement bags were rolled out from Ambuja cement, and Ambuja cement bags were rolled out from ACC cement. So that was the concept actually. So how it started actually? So we had a very extensive meeting, and we had a complete update of overall progress. We'll discuss the detailed results on outbound logistics, share output for the other initiatives. We provided an assessment of the benefits, discuss the status of implementation, and provide overview on the next steps. So when we talk about cement, it's talk about clinker. Many people know that clinker is the raw metal which is used for manufacturing cement. So it depends upon what kind of cement you're talking about. In India, there are two types of cement. Earlier, there was to be three types of cement. One was called, uh, PPC, that is the pozzolanic material cement. So there you have PSC, that's a Portland slag, and PPC is basically a cement which is manufactured in northern India, where they mix the clinker with the fly ash derived from the power plants like NTPC and other units. Portland slag cements are basically, you'll find that in around steel manufacturing units where you've got integrated steel plants. So slags which are produced by the integrated steel plants are used as a raw material. But prior to that, which is now banned, because you know that limestone mines life period is very short, and until unless we do not use sustainable mean of production, we'll find that in next 15-20 years the limestone life will be diminished, and we'll not left with limes. So in order to prevent that, there is a huge concern when it comes to environmental concern. So in order to minimize the consumption of this material, that's limestone, they have started talking about blended cement, whether it's called PPC or whether it's called PSC. So generally, what there are two common products now. OPC is no more in use because it is banned, and you will have find PSC and PPC. So clinker is very important. Now, what happened that there are many steel units, manufacture unit. Like for example, in UP there is a Sultanpur, there is a ACC plant, but that is not an integrated cement plant actually. That is called a grinding unit. Integrated plants are generally located close to the limestone mines, like which is basically find in uh, you'll find in like Chhattisgarh or in some other part of the southern India where you have got a limestone mine. But in UP you don't have a limestone mine. So what happened that this cement plant which is located in Sultanpur, ACC plant, which is basically a grinding unit. That means clinker will come from some other integrated plant, and then this clinker is being converted into a cement mixing that they blend with the that is the blended material like fly ash, and then they will pack it and then will distribute within the radius of 200 or 300 kilometer, and that is what the model actually. So so there was another concept that has been floated, that why not have a packing plant rather than have a grinding plant, and this packing plant to a certain extent has moved to the next level, and you are aware that nowadays you'll find ready mixed concrete plants are located nearby all construction belt actually, or where like construction is happening, ready made concrete plants are being set up, so that they mix the cement, they mix the sand, they mix the stones, and then sell it finally as a final product, so that they will have in this way. So then the question is how to tune the sales and operation process, design loss and benefit. And this exercise was a very, very tough exercise in real life environment, because forecasting the demand of the cement based on so many factors, based on your capabilities, based on your competitions, based on the future scenarios, and all these things depends upon how the government is going to have their own projects, and how these things are going to shape up, all so many factors. And it was a really, really Herculean task, and we spent months and months. I remember for 6 months I could not take a single day leave during this exercise actually. So what was the scenario basically? So we have provided a region wise. So we took like for the entire eastern regions of Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, and West Bengal, and for the northeast, because I was in charge of all these region basically as a supply chain analyst. So what happened that initially this was the case, and initially the variable cost of goods sold was 113. Now you know that what is variable cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold is equal to direct material cost plus direct labor plus overhead expenses. Now overhead expenses could have two components, will have two components: fixed overhead and variable overhead expenses. So you know that all these so in simple word I'll tell you, when you talk about cost of goods sold, it is the cost of the producing a unit at the factory gate. That means it incur all the cost related to plant or manufacturing unit. So this is the cost. Now, total delivered cost is the cost that you incur for delivering a final finished product from the plant manufacturing gate to the final destination. And the sales tax, it is fixed for a particular region. So where we can optimize the variable cost of goods sold as a factory cost. At the same time, we can optimize the delivered cost. So through a complete optimization exercise, we have been able to reduce the variable cost of goods sold from 113 to 1104, and total delivered cost has been reduced from 645 to 615, which was a significant saving actually. So you can say that in 2007, this savings was in this entire eastern region was 16 crore, which is big amount actually. And before this optimization exercise, the company was losing so much money actually. So when we talk about, again, when we talked about optimization, we actually did for the rail and road. And what we did actually, that pre-optimization was like that how the road movement was like, how was the rail movement. But after complete optimization, we found that like in earlier time, what happened, the maximum volume is to move by road. So we suggested them, why not reduce the road movement from 46% to 37%. Similarly, we suggested them, this particular case, to improve from 30 to 44 and reduce the rail movement.
Sir, you are mute, sir. You're not audible, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So now it's clear. So that's how we suggested basically that how the volume can be changed actually. So this is the exercise that through pre-optimization and how post-optimization has come down. And then we suggested that this is the volume breakup, for the state wise. Similarly, we did for the, PSC's recommendation, and this was the final, potential benefit that we realized that in one particular region, after taking all constraints in the mind, like marketing and logistics constraints, we have seen that this was the potential benefits have been realized in various regions. And all the consideration have been taken, like we took the consideration of the market sentiments, like consumer, like some people prefer white colored cement, some people prefer grayish cement, taking all constraints in the mind, all factors, so that markets should not suffer. At the same time, we can try to save, and this is what we've done. So what we've done actually, so this is the current. So based on that, we have changed the footprint, like which of the region will be fed by which region. So earlier it was like this, and finally we suggested, okay, this market will be attached to a particular plant. This market will be attached to by which mode of transportation. So all these market has been segregated based on the logistics mode of transportation, road or rail. It is not like that in at my own convenience I can feed the market based on whatever is available. No, that shouldn't be the case. There has to be appropriate, and in case it doesn't work out for any reason, you have a backup model, but always strive for the best model. So similarly, what happened, this is how based on the recommended and baseline. So based on all these demand forecasts, all these things have come for the plant, like Jamul plant and Chaibasa. The Chaibasa is in Ranchi and Jamul is in Chhattisgarh, which is close. Jamul is very close to the Vilai steel plant, and Chaibasa is close to Bokaro steel plant. So this is something which is very important. So based on that, for Jharkhand, the market was optimized actually. Similarly, it has been for other state also. So you can see that how things have been there. And I'll show you the main recommendation, because this is what was recommendation. So you can see that for clinker movement actually. So this was a clinker production in metric tons. across the plants, and this was a self-consumption. So the balance clinker, instead of like so was fed to the other plants actually, like other clinics. So depending upon that, and some of the clinkers were even transferred to the Holcim plant, like from India to Bangladesh, because Bangladesh do not have limestone mines, so they have a grinding units. So generally clinkers goes from India basically. So that's how. So this was based on this entire like clinker movement and all these things. They've captured all these detail, and how the total cost, delivered cost, has reduced from 518 to 419, which was completely. And then this is called the uh, operational expenditure, capital expenditure. What are the benefits that is accrued a year? What is the payback? And based on this, what happened? The decision was taken that whether the organization should invest in the green projects or they should acquire new units. Depending upon all these projection and all these analysis, company generally take the decisions whether they will invest in green projects or they will go for they will actually collaborate with some other units or they will acquire. So it's their own projects or they have to acquire the existing manufacturing units of other companies. That's why you've seen that Lafarge has bought, when Lafarge entered India, they actually acquired Tata Steel cement plant, that is Jojobera in that is in Jamshedpur, and Raymond Cement earlier used to be a belongs to Raymond Company Group. So they acquired from Raymond Group in Chhattisgarh. Similarly, like when Holcim came, they acquired Ambuja and ACC. And when Heidelberg entered into India, they acquired Madras Cement, and that's how they acquire. Because when you set up a new green project, it takes time. Hello, yeah. So that's how. So based on this, final, all these things comes into the picture. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Hello.
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes.
So based on this, they have come out with a packing and grinding units, suggestions, and then based on the final metrics have been prepared. So this is the final value chain matrix have been developed, like the way you have studied in Michael Porter's value chain model. Similarly, we have come out with our value chain with detailed analysis that what is how to combine sales and planning, sales and operation planning, what should be the cement production planning, what is the facilities cross bagging planning, clinker production and dispatch planning, procurement planning, and logistics planning. So we have come out with detail, and we have executed this. And this is what are the parameters we have decided. We have developed a performance measurement system based on the all demand forecasting and optimization exercise, and we finally come out with this framework. Actually, this is our own framework, and this is what we have defined the performance measurement system, so that the managers can really work on that, how to track actually. And this is how to track the benefits at a continuous effort, and this is particular what was actual target and what we've achieved so far. And this is what the baseline. This is how the what is our methodology, how we have developed, and way forward. So these are the something like that. So this is a methodology. I really don't want to discuss much, because my objective was to show you that actually in real life we have to know a lot of things. My objective to say you that, can you imagine the simple operations research and the statistics that we teach in the school is so much applicable in industry at the highest level in the industry. And since actually I'm a guy who appears to be a researcher, who's a researcher by today profession, but I spent considerable years in industry, and I took the inspiration of doing my PhD after working on such a complex project. And then I realized that why not I do my research and develop some new parameters, new metrics, so that we can help industry. That's why most of my research, my teaching is inspired by how it can help the industry to do better job. So that's why actually currently now I'm going to take over the Sanofi Chair Professorship of Pharmaceutical Supply Chain, and there. So that's how things are moving up. So that's what I'm saying that. So I took a business forecasting case actually in real sense, because I wanted to demonstrate that in real life, how does it work basically. many people doesn't have an idea, because many people doesn't know exactly, because many people haven't seen that in strategic level how industry operates and works. So they don't have much idea exactly, because operations managers are just given this framework and they just implement it. So this is what the final outcome. If you have any questions, queries, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to answer. And I don't know how many of you had previous cement manufacturing background or steel manufacturing background or automotive industry background. They probably can correlate these things far better. Yes. Anybody have any questions and queries? Feel free to ask, because the more you ask, I will clarify. Because the objective of this faculty development program is not to teach, but to it to sensitize you to share the best teaching practices across the globe. That is the objective, I personally believe. Otherwise, if I start to teach all these things, it will take a lot of time. Okay, tell me, ask questions.
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Professor Dubey, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, my question is, while in teaching or classroom context, whenever we are discussing any sector, may it be
Yeah.
automobile or any other,
Yeah.
we discuss or forecast and also discuss different scenarios, stress test, etc.
Yeah.
In research, should we prefer that or stick to specific assumptions?
No, research actually, what should be the research basically? Let me explain you. It depends upon where do you publish. In top journal, we expect that your research should be very, very innovative, because so that industry can learn from your research findings. So, whenever you actually develop a theoretical model, we'll try to actually take more and more assumptions. And in case when you, like, of course, when you find out the solutions, you try to come out with a simplistic model, but you have to suggest that how you can actually make your model more robust, more comprehensive, so that they can actually use it in a real sense. So what we suggest is that, like, when you are writing a research paper, it depends upon for which journal you're writing. If you're writing for a top journal, they expect a comprehensive model. What is a new finding? And if you don't have a new suggestions, new model, and you've not proven it properly, I think getting published in a top journal is very difficult.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think people have I think anything, anybody have some like queries they feel asked, they can share what, because it's a nice experience, nice opportunity for all of us, those who are learning and those who are actually studying, that so that they can actually have a better understanding. Yes, Ankit.
Sir, can I ask some question related to the factor analysis? If
Today,
it is...
factor analysis, you are still in the world of factor analysis?
Yes, sir, I have some queries. I gone through some literatures after your lecture, and I found something which is confusing for me.
Okay, so tell
Can
me.
I?
Yeah, please.
Sir, actually, I found that many literature explains that it's difficult to run factor analysis on ordered nature or in ordered or categorical type data.
Yeah.
And for that, a study I went through by Starkweather 2014, he said that for categorical data analysis, if we want to run factor analysis, we cannot go with Carl Pearson correlation matrix. In that situation, we have to go with polychoric correlation matrix.
Yes.
Why
Now,
is it so? And
let me explain you. Very, very good question, Ankit. As I told you that factor analysis, as I mentioned you very specifically, that what we perform is not factor analysis. What we perform is basically a data reduction using principal component analysis. Factor analysis, remember, is a tool which is used primarily by the psychometric people or psychology people who are using a Likert scale. That means where perception is being captured. So when you're capturing a perception, it has to be interval data. That's why, in simple, what I say, factor analysis works well in case of interval data. But in other case of the data, you're not claiming, you're not using fact analysis. That is called data reduction. That means huge data can be reduced to it's just like a Pareto or ABC analysis of inventory management. Like we have to find out like which less data explain maximum variance. So what you're doing that, since you are unable to deal with a large data set, you are trying to actually reduce the large data into a specific number of constructs and variables so that it will easily can it explain the maximum variance so that you can put maximum effort actually. Factor analysis, when I am particularly using the term, it's applicable in case of interval data, which is basically captured using a Likert scale. Got it? So that's why in
Sure.
finance, people are using factor analysis. They're not using factor analysis. They're using principal component analysis. That is a data reduction. Basically, what happened when you are measuring some of the constructs like perception, like how do you quantify trust or attitude? You cannot measure the attitude or trust using a balance sheet of a company or financials data, or neither you'll have any secondary data for trust of a people or attitude of a people. So it depends upon some of the construct which are more actually, psychometric driven. In that case, we use factor analysis to understand the structure among the constructs and the items. That time it is okay. So you rightly said that what they're talking about, that people have a confusion. Data reduction has got nothing to do with the factor analysis. Factor analysis is one of the data reduction technique, but beyond data reduction. That's what I want to caution, that unfortunately when you perform factor analysis using SPSS, it is a data reduction basically. And that is why I was performing all separate analysis using Excel based on Fornin and Larsker 1981 equation. And that is what happened. All the structural equation modeling tools that is available, they're based on Fornin and Larsker equation only. And of course, Fornin and Larsker 1981 equation is only applicable in case of reflective constructs only, not in case of formative constructs. So these are so many things that do it. It's a good question, Yavar. But that's why I tell you, statistics is a very confusing subject. When you read many authors, everybody have their own perspective, and finally we get confused what to do. So statistics is something we have to understand. Is based on, after so many iterations, you have to find out which is the best in your situation. Thank you, Ankit.
Yes, I got it, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else have got any questions related to business forecasting, demand forecasting? I think people are having too much information and they need to process it. They need some time.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. Our job is to share the best practices. I share that business forecasting has moved to the next level. That's a simple level that in class level we can combine statistics with the optimization tool. That is one simple exercise that we should do in classroom. Second, I told you that in complex environment, it is a machine learning driven forecasting is taking place. And I shown you a real case study, a real industry application where cement manufacturing company has, took the forecasting at different level. And that's why forecasting is a very complex subject. And you need to have a multidisciplinary background. You need to understand social perspective. You need to understand financial perspective. You need to understand operational perspective and marketing dimension. Then only can do that. And that is why I tell you that being a supply chain analyst or an operation analyst or financial analyst is not that easy, because you have to know and understand so many aspects of the business. So overall, this is what I wanted to present. I know I can cover a lot of things, but I know that this is not a forum to learn each technique in depth. The only objective of this forum is to share the best practices on how to, improve the business forecasting. Case studies should be chosen from the different sector, but again, when you are teaching, please teach the case study in current perspective. Suppose I'm using a case which was published 10 years ago, but when I'm teaching to a student, I have to bring that same case from current perspective so that students will have a better experience. I hope we can close the session now, because if students are not having much queries, because I understand that when you have series of longish workshop, people takes a lot of time to assimilate all the informations and stuff. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this informative and thought-provoking sessions. And in fact, in these 2 days, besides how to do research and data analysis, you even taught us how to accept failure, and it should not stop anyone to succeed and achieve their goals. Thank you so much, sir. And on behalf of all the participants and entire JIT, I am grateful to you that you've taken out time from your busy schedule, sir. I believe like all the participants are, charged up and they'll do some innovatory and creative research in their academic careers.
No, what I personally believe that that next time what we'll do,
Right, sir?
what we'll do that we'll send materials in advance,
Okay.
because what I personally believe that like
Then we can do
next time we'll do organize, what we'll do that that's what I've understood. All the participants will have a window, keep it like close it 7 days before, 8 days before, then send them a pre-reading materials from whatever that, let them read and let them have a discussion. Next
Yes,
time what we want that like only those participants should come who should link the research teaching with together, because research led teaching is very important. If we are saying that students are not willing to learn or we cannot accept it, I think our teaching pedagogy need to be evolved. Let me tell you one thing, in India, actually, we attract the best students. Let me tell you on the IITs and IIMs and NITs, they attract the best students. But when we find the students graduating from these schools, probably where they were, they are the same level actually. But in foreign university, I've seen that average student comes, but when they graduate, they come out with a different skill sets actually. So, our professor role is very challenging. In India, actually, we boast that we have the best student, but unfortunately, that's why we always question that why not in 60 years, since ISC and IITs have been existing, but could get a one Nobel Prize actually. Because simple is that we are not prepared for that challenges. But which I find that's why you say that our teacher role is to convert the average student into super level. That is something which we have to work on a continuous basis. I know that Indian teachers are highly work teacher, because I taught in Indian universities and institutions. I was safe, but what I found that teaching in Indian institutions is very difficult, because you have got too many administrative work. But in foreign universities, we only do research and teaching and nothing else. That's something different. So uh, that's why they are very different ball game. Thank you very much. And if
Thank
you have any queries, like that, we are happy to answer, because you have some minutes left. Otherwise, thank you very much for spending your time and efforts to attend the session, and that has been really thank you. Okay,
Thank you so much, sir.
thank you,
Thank you so much, sir.
It's an honor, sir. It's a privilege to have you with us.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I hope, is anybody has any query for us? All right, so I would expect like you can perform certain business case studies, you can go through them, and you can go through some recent articles regarding business analytics and how machine learning and predictive analytics is used as applied in different areas. That would be useful. Okay, then we have a session tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Anything
Thank you
else,
so much,
ma'am?
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, meet you then.
Yes,
I would like to mention here that tomorrow, 2 to 4, we'll be going to have a session by Professor Chandan Sharma from IIM Lucknow. He will be delivering a talk on introduction to time series data, stationarity, and co-integration analysis. Now, session will be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And from 4 to 5, that is for 1 hour, we will be having a small test. For that, Pro Chancellor sir has asked, and it's mandatory to pass this test. Then only all the
there is a
participants are.
50% criteria for
Yes,
the
it's a
e-certificate.
small test. We have kept a very small test, and it's mandatory since we have to submit a detailed report to approach chancellors. No? So it's important and it's mandatory for us also that we have to conduct this test. So
Ma'am,
tomorrow,
passing criteria is I think 33% as we did in 10th or 12th.
And it's
so,
50%
but
over
this
here.
is not for 10, 12 students. No? This is for assistant professors, for research scholars. I was thinking to, I was asking Sakshi ma'am to keep it 70%. But Sakshi ma'am said, no, no, ma'am, don't keep 70, 75.
Mhm. I have to
Let's
bargain now
keep,
for 50%, so not beyond that.
then,
It'll be a simple test.
format of the test will be totally objective. It will be,
Math for the test would be the MCQs. Yes, ma'am. It'll be a
yes.
monthly. Yes, it'll be I think 1 hour test. It will be around 25 questions, and related to the theme of the just FDP. They'll be related to the theme and the modules related to this FDP.
Each day module, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5 till time series.
Probably one question from yes tomorrow session as well.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
So I would,
We will ready for that actually.
you are traveling, Farana, you are traveling, no issue. We'll be sharing a link, a Google form link. So you have to just click on the option, and then I think this you can do via your mobile also. So I think I hope Sakshi ma'am, there is no
Yes.
issue
No, no, no issues. You can
in
yeah,
attempting
it's a
this.
Google form for the MCQs. Yeah, you have to just insert your right answers over there.
Okay, so now I would like to ask all the participants, please share your feedback. Okay, till now, what is your feedback about this program? Because me and Sakshi ma'am, for the very first time, we are conducting this FDP. So I would like to know what is your feedback till now. How do you like the sessions from day 1 to today? That is day 4. Yes, Ankit.
Or any suggestions for the improvement?
I just want to say, ma'am, that before this FDP, during my PhD, I attended many courses, and I generally thought that knowledge before workshop or such programs and the after attending such programs seems constant in most of the cases. But this time, I am really feeling very good that this faculty development program is far from my expectations, and I am really feeling that my perception is changed about the FDPs just because of this, especially the last 2 sessions, and as well as first day 1 and day 2. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you, Ankit. It's good to know that it has added certain
But,
values and it's insightful.
But it will be more, I will be more happy when you will be going to ask more and more and more questions in the coming session.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Because tomorrow we are going to have a professor, Chandan Sharma. He's from IIM. So apart from working on econometrics and financial econometrics, he also worked a lot on that black money and corruption. He has prepared a detailed report on black money and corruption. वो उस पे भी बहुत काम करते हैं, बहुत अच्छे प्रोफेसर हैं, बहुत इकोनॉमेट्रिक्स
Very
का
senior professor, yes, he's a very senior professor.
Then it will be very interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Because I had attended one workshop of Professor Chandan Sharma, and he's wonderful. He's also very nice. Yes, Archana ma'am, what do you want to?
First of all, good evening to everyone. My name is Archana Mishra. और मैं रिसेंटली अभी PhD में मैंने एडमिशन्स लिया है. So now I am a PhD scholar from government college from Maharaja Sahajya University of Baroda, Gujarat.
Okay.
In which department?
Commerce and Business Management, ma'am.
Okay.
For
I
today,
went there last year.
yeah, ma'am.
Very nice university.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. But for today, the sir was explaining.
Your voice is not coming. You're not audible.
Now I'm audible, ma'am?
No.
Let me disconnect the things.
Meanwhile, anybody else?
Now I'm audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank you, Sakshi ma'am, Priyanka ma'am. You guys are amazing. I don't think so. It was the first time. I think you are doing used to it with this. And one more thing, ma'am, I would like to say the sir was explaining today was quite difficult for me because I'm a commerce and business background. So I was trying to learning and mugging everything it was quite difficult for me. but that's okay because it's a PhD. We have to learn everything. We have to gain every knowledge. So
Yes, Archana, sir was explaining actually about the recent trends.
yeah, ma'am.
Recent trends that has been incorporated in different sectors, in businesses, in management, in IT industry, in engineering. So these are the different trends, a different advancement in technologies that has led the research, revolutionized the research, if I would say. So I think that would be a great insights if you can search machine learning, how it has incorporated in business and management. In the field of, if you read some articles on marketing analytics, you'll probably find your answers over there.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, the sir was saying that. Then that time I was opening the Google and I was trying to learning and gaining everything. Then I was trying to understand everything.
Probably for business and management, you can go through some basics in marketing analytics,
Okay.
and I think they'll be very helpful for you.
या और मैम ने डे वन प्रियंका मैम ने जैसे रिसर्च में बेसिक टर्म बताए थे जो मैंने पहले भी पढ़ा था लेकिन फिर भी मेरा और प्रैक्टिस अच्छा हो गया सो थैंक यू प्रियंका मैम यू वाज अमेजिंग और आपने भी कुछ टर्म्स पढ़ाए थे बीच में आई मीन कल ही आपने पढ़ाया था शायद कल या परसों नहीं परसों पढ़ाया था या तो आपने भी एक दो टर्म्स बोले थे जो बहुत अच्छा रहा और गूगल डॉक्यूमेंट्स के थ्रू हम जो भी पढ़ रहे हैं सो वी आर एक्साइटिंग फॉर टुमारो टेस्ट थैंक यू सो मच फॉर एवरीथिंग
So we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ananya Goyal. Yes, Ananya? On your mic.
Yeah,
Ananya
definitely.
Goyal.
That would depend on the future workshops. Yes, yes. So if we arrange, if we plan any other, organize any other workshop, so we keep it, we try to provide the material before, and that it should be strictly an interactive session. Yes, yes. That would be our objective. Yes.
Yeah, and in addition to the feedbacks which are given,
Yes.
certainly this FDP is something more which we have expected. And we are really very happy to attend such a FDP, and the same thing which Ananya has pointed out. If we can get the material for tomorrow as well, because for today's session actually we were not prepared, and it was really too much of things to get it and process it.
I'm afraid to say that, but it won't be able to arrange this time in this
Yeah.
short period.
No, what we'll do,
I can
we'll
understand.
request Dubey sir,
Yeah.
if he agree, so we'll ask him that share the material for current session, and then next time we'll arrange in advance.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. It means it's very informative all the sessions. All the time we are just writing the things, the references, the papers which he is quoting.
Yes, sir has provided lots of references and lots of basic fundamental articles for a thorough understanding. So that is very wonderful. It saves our literature survey. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It gives us the link from where we have to.
There's certain papers आप कितना survey कर रहे हो उसके बाद भी you cannot extract those papers. So they were the basic fundamental papers. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. So anything else you want to add? Anyone else? Okay then. Then we'll meet you tomorrow for the session. I'll provide the link for the attendance if anybody has left to mark their attendance. And thank you, everyone. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock and hope to have more interactive and more thought-provoking session. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you for the participation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm ending this meet. Thank you.